My cousin stood in my grandmother's living room, tears streaming down her face, telling everyone I'd stolen from Grandma and threatened her life. 20 pairs of eyes turned to me, cold and accusing. I opened my mouth to defend myself, but nobody wanted to hear it. That's when I knew, words wouldn't save me. Only proof would. I walked into Grandma's house expecting pot roast and laughter. Instead I found a firing squad. The entire family sat in a circle, arms crossed, faces hard as stone. My cousin Brielle stood in the center, mascara running down her cheeks, trembling like a leaf in a storm. "Ava's been stealing from Grandma," she sobbed, pointing at me with a shaking finger. "She's been taking money for months. And when I confronted her, she threatened me." My stomach dropped to my feet. "What? That's not. Don't lie to us," Uncle Frank cut me off. "We've seen the evidence." My chest tightened. Evidence? What evidence? I looked around the room, searching for one friendly face. Mom wouldn't meet my eyes. Dad stared at his shoes. Even Grandma, sitting in her armchair by the window, looked at me with something that resembled disappointment. "I didn't do anything," I managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. "Then explain these," Brielle said, holding up her phone. She showed everyone a series of text messages, horrible, threatening words that supposedly came from my number. Messages I'd never sent. My hands started shaking. Someone had set me up. "I think you should leave," Grandma said softly, "until we figure this out." I stumbled toward the door, my vision blurring with tears. As I reached for the handle, Grandma's voice followed me. "I'm so disappointed in you, Ava." Those words cut deeper than any knife could. I sat in my car for 20 minutes, unable to turn the key. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my messages, looking for the texts Brielle had shown everyone. They weren't there. They'd never been there. My phone rang. It was Dr. Patterson, my supervisor at the mental health clinic where I worked. "Ava, I need to ask you something," she said, her voice careful. "Have you been terminated from your position?" "What? Well, why would you think that?" "Because I've gotten 3 calls today from people claiming to be your relatives, asking if we'd fired you. They seemed convinced you'd lost your job months ago." My blood ran cold. "Dr. Patterson, I promise you, I have no idea what's going on. Someone's spreading lies about me." He paused. "I believe you. But Ava, this is serious. Someone's trying to damage your reputation." After we hung up, I stared at the steering wheel, trying to process everything. Brielle hadn't just lied about theft and threats. She'd been telling everyone I'd lost my job, that I was unstable, that I couldn't be trusted. A text popped up on my screen from an unknown number. "You should have stayed quiet." My heart hammered against my ribs. This wasn't just about Sunday dinner anymore. This was war. I spent the entire night gathering evidence. Every bank statement from the past year. Every email from work. Every text message, phone record, and receipt I could find. If Brielle wanted to destroy me with lies, I'd defend myself with truth. The fake text messages bothered me most. I took screenshots of my actual message history, showing no trace of the threats Brielle had displayed. Then I called my phone company and requested detailed records. The representative told me she'd email them within 48 hours. I created a folder on my laptop labeled Truth, and started organizing everything chronologically. Bank statements proved I hadn't made any large withdrawals or suspicious purchases. Work emails showed I'd been employed continuously, even receiving a commendation last month. Character reference letters from colleagues sat in a neat stack on my desk. Around midnight, I noticed something strange. The phone number Brielle had shown everyone, the one the fake threats supposedly came from, wasn't quite right. The area code matched mine, but the last 4 digits were off by 2 numbers. Someone had created a spoofed number, made it look almost identical to mine. I dug deeper, searching for any information about virtual phone number services. My search led me to a registration database. And there it was. A virtual number matching the fake one, registered in March, the exact month Brielle got engaged to Dylan. My hands stopped shaking. I had my first real lead. Great-Aunt Nora appeared at my door the next morning, holding a covered dish and wearing an expression I couldn't quite read. "I brought you some of my casserole," she said, brushing past me into the apartment. "Figured you might not be eating much after yesterday." I accepted the dish gratefully, though food was the last thing on my mind. Aunt Nora settled into my kitchen chair and fixed me with her sharp gray eyes. "I don't believe Brielle," she said flatly. "Never have been one for theatrics, and that girl was performing yesterday." Relief flooded through me so suddenly I almost cried. "Thank you for saying that." "Don't thank me yet. I'm just one old woman." She paused, stirring her tea slowly. "But I've noticed some things. Brielle's been asking odd questions about your grandmother's finances lately. What accounts she has, what her PIN numbers are, that sort of thing." My pulse quickened. "When did this start?" "Few months back. Right around the time your grandma mentioned reopening that scholarship fund for you younger folks." Aunt Nora's eyes narrowed. "And I saw something else. Caught Brielle leaving your grandma's office late one night, about 2 weeks ago. She looked startled to see me." "What was she doing there?" "Said she was just checking on your grandma. But your grandma wasn't home that night. She was at her book club." Aunt Nora stood, patting my hand. "I can't help much, dear. But I can tell you this, you're not alone. Not everyone's buying what that girl's selling." After she left, I added Aunt Nora's testimony to my growing file. The pieces were starting to come together. Monday morning, I drove straight to the clinic to speak with Dr. Patterson face to face. When I arrived, she was waiting with Jordan, our IT specialist. "Ava, Jordan found something you need to see," Dr. Patterson said, her expression grim. Jordan pulled up an email on his screen. "Someone sent us a message last week from what looked like your personal email address, asking us to verify your termination date and reason for firing. We didn't respond because, obviously, you're still employed here. Can you trace where it came from?" "Already did." Jordan clicked through several screens. The email was sent from an IP address registered to a laptop purchased at Bestmart 2 years ago. I cross-referenced the purchase with our security footage from that time. You'd asked us to help you pick out a laptop, remember? I nodded slowly. Well, the person who sent this email was using a different laptop. One registered to someone named Brielle Callahan. The room tilted slightly. "You're sure?" "Positive. The IP address traces directly back to her home network." Dr. Patterson handed me a printed copy of the email and the IP trace report. "This is identity fraud, Ava. If you want to press charges." "Not yet," I interrupted. "But I need copies of everything. Every email, every call log, every piece of evidence you have." Jordan nodded. "Do you know someone named Brielle Callahan?" he asked, though the answer was written all over my face. "Yes," I said quietly. "She's my cousin." 2 days later, I was leaving the clinic when a woman stepped in front of me. Caroline Thorne, Dylan's older sister and Brielle's future sister-in-law. "We need to talk," she said, her voice icy. My defenses went up immediately. "If you're here to lecture me." "I'm here because Brielle told me you've been harassing her." Caroline crossed her arms. "She said you're jealous of her engagement and trying to ruin her wedding." Something in her tone made me pause. She wasn't quite believing her own words. I made a split-second decision and pulled out my phone. "Look at this," I said, showing her the bank statements, the work emails, the IP trace connecting Brielle to the fraudulent email. "Your future sister-in-law has been systematically lying about me for months." Caroline's expression shifted as she scrolled through the evidence. The ice in her eyes melted into something harder. Recognition. "She's done this before," Caroline whispered. "To other people." "What do you mean?" Caroline looked up at me. "My brother isn't her first fiancé. There was another guy 2 years ago. She destroyed his relationship with his family the same way. Lies, manipulation, playing the victim." He paused. "He broke off the engagement when he found out she'd been forging his signature on credit applications." My hands went numb. Why didn't you tell Dylan? I did. He didn't believe me. He thinks she's changed. Caroline's jaw tightened. But I've been watching. And I think you're right about her. She handed back my phone. We need to talk privately. There's something else you should know. Something big. We met at a coffee shop across town, where nobody from our families would see us. Caroline ordered 2 large coffees and sat across from me. Her face drawn with exhaustion. Dylan and Brielle's engagement is falling apart, she said bluntly. He just doesn't know it yet. What do you mean? Brielle's drowning in debt. Credit cards, personal loans, some kind of payment plan with a wedding venue that's way above their budget. Caroline pulled out her phone and showed me screenshots of texts between Dylan and their mother. She's been pressuring him to ask your grandmother for money. Told him it's his right as family, that your grandma has plenty to spare. My chest tightened. The scholarship. Exactly. Your grandma announced she was reopening that education fund right around tax return season. Brielle saw an opportunity. Caroline's eyes met mine. She can't let you have that money, Ava. She needs it for her wedding. So she's been working to discredit you, isolate you from the family, make sure you're not even in the running when your grandma makes her decision. That's insane. That's calculated. Caroline took a long sip of coffee. And here's the worst part. You're not the first person she's tried to wipe out. Back in college, she had a roommate who got accepted to a prestigious internship. Brielle spread rumors that the girl had cheated on her applications. The internship was rescinded. The girl dropped out of school entirely. Felt sick. Did anyone ever prove Brielle did it? No. She's smart. She covers her tracks well. Caroline leaned forward. But she's getting sloppy now. She's desperate. And desperate people make mistakes. I thought about the virtual phone number, the fake email, the credit card applications Aunt Nora had mentioned. Caroline was right. Brielle was unraveling. What do I do? Yes. Document everything. And wait. She's going to slip up soon. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying conversations, moments, interactions from the past year, trying to pinpoint exactly when Brielle's campaign against me had begun. Then I remembered. Last November. Grandma had called a family meeting to announce she was establishing an education fund to help the younger generation pursue degrees or certifications. The fund would grant $15,000 to one recipient, chosen based on academic achievement, character, and need. I'd been working toward my clinical license for 2 years, taking night classes while working full-time. I was the obvious choice. Everyone had congratulated me that day. Everyone except Brielle. She'd pulled me aside after the meeting, her smile sharp as glass. Must be nice, she'd said. Always getting what you want. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. Just that some of us have been waiting our turn for years. She'd walked away before I could respond. I opened my laptop and searched through old voicemails. There, buried in my archive from last December, was a message Brielle had left me after a Christmas party. I'd forgotten about it because it had seemed harmless at the time, just drunk rambling. Press play. You know what, Ava? Brielle's voice slurred through the speaker. You always get what should have been mine. Always. The scholarship, the job, even Grandma's attention. But not this time. This time, I'm going to make sure everyone sees you for what you really are. The message ended with her laughing. At the time, I dismissed it as alcohol talking. Now I heard it for what it was. A declaration of war. Aunt Nora showed up again the following afternoon, this time carrying a manila envelope. She looked troubled. I did something I'm not proud of, she said, handing me the envelope. I was helping your grandma organize her office last week, and I found this in a drawer. I took it because something felt wrong. Inside was a bank notification addressed to Grandma, regarding a credit card she'd never mentioned to anyone. The card had been opened 4 months ago and currently carried a balance of $8,200. Grandma never said anything about opening a new credit card, I said slowly. That's because she didn't. Aunt Nora pointed to the signature on the application form, partially visible through the envelope's plastic window. "Look at that handwriting." I pulled out the application. The signature read Virginia Morrison, my grandmother's full name. But the handwriting was all wrong. Too loopy, too dramatic. I'd seen Grandma's signature 1,000 times. This wasn't it. Then I noticed the initials in the corner of the form, where the applicant was supposed to confirm they'd read the terms and conditions. The letters were small but clear. B.C. Brielle Callahan. My hands started shaking again. This is fraud. This could send her to prison. Aunt Nora nodded grimly. That girl's in deeper than we thought. And if she's desperate enough to commit identity theft against her own grandmother, what else is she capable of? I carefully placed the documents back in the envelope. "I need to think about this." "Think fast," Aunt Nora said. "Because if your grandma discovers this on her own and blames you, there'll be no coming back from it." I spent 3 sleepless nights wrestling with what to do. Part of me wanted to take the credit card evidence straight to the police. Brielle had committed a serious crime. She deserved to face consequences. But another part of me hesitated. Despite everything, she was still family. Pressing charges would tear apart everyone. Not just Brielle, but Dylan, Caroline, even Grandma. It would validate Brielle's lies in some twisted way, make me look like the vindictive cousin she'd painted me as. Well, I needed a different approach. I wouldn't destroy Brielle. I'd let her destroy herself. I was finalizing my strategy when my phone buzzed with an email. The sender was listed as Grandma, but something about it felt off. "Dear Ava," it read. "I think it's best if you stay away from family gatherings for now, until things calm down. I need some space to think clearly about everything that's happened. Please respect my wishes. Love, Grandmother Virginia Morrison." My chest tightened. Grandma never signed emails with her full name. She always just wrote Grandma V. I immediately called her house. She answered on the 3rd ring. "Grandma, did you send me an email today?" "Email? Honey, I don't even know how to send emails. Your cousin set up that account for me last year to help with online bills, but I've never used it myself." My pulse hammered in my ears. "What do you mean Brielle set up the account?" "She said it would make things easier for me. Helped me pay some bills online a few times." Grandma paused. "Why? Is something wrong?" "Grandma, I'm coming over. We need to talk." I arrived at Grandma's house 30 minutes later. She was waiting on the porch, her face creased with worry. "Show me this email," she said as soon as I walked up. Pulled it up on my phone. Grandma read it twice, her expression darkening with each word. "I never wrote this," she said firmly. "And I certainly wouldn't tell you to stay away. You're my granddaughter." "I know. But Brielle has access to your email account. She could have sent this to make it look like it came from you." Grandma sank into her rocking chair, suddenly looking every bit of her 78 years. "Why would she do this? I think she's trying to isolate me from the family." I knelt beside her chair. "Grandma, there's something else. Have you been confused about money lately? Anything missing from your accounts or purchases you don't remember making?" Her hand trembled slightly as she reached for mine. "I've been afraid to say anything because I thought I was just getting forgetful. But yes, there've been several charges I don't recognize. Small amounts mostly. $50 here, $75 there. I thought maybe I'd forgotten about them." "How small are we talking?" "Maybe $500 or $600 total, over the past few months." My throat tightened. "Grandma, I think someone's been accessing your accounts without permission." She looked up at me, tears forming in her eyes. "And you think it's Brielle? I think we need to look at your financial records together. All of them." Grandma was quiet for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Come inside. Let's figure this out." We spread Grandma's bank statements across her dining room table. 2 hours of careful review revealed a disturbing pattern. Starting in January, small withdrawals appeared. Never more than $100 at a time, spread out over weeks. Individually they seemed innocent. Together they totaled nearly $3,000. I didn't make any of these, Grandma whispered, her finger tracing a withdrawal dated February 14th. I was in the hospital that day for my hip surgery. I pulled out my phone and took pictures of every statement, every suspicious transaction. Then I noticed something else, a larger withdrawal from 3 weeks ago. $800, pulled from an ATM across town. Were you at Shaw Street on the 15th? Yes. Shaw Street. That's 40 minutes from here. I haven't driven that far in months. The ATM was located near Dylan's apartment complex. The same complex where Brielle had been staying since their engagement. Grandma's hand shook as she set down the papers. I should have listened to you at dinner. I should have defended you. Instead her voice broke. It's okay, I said, even though it wasn't. Not yet. No, it's not. She looked at me with tears streaming down her face. She made a fool of me. Used me against you. And I let her because I wanted to believe family wouldn't do something so cruel. We'll fix this, I promised. But Grandma, we need to be quiet about this for now. If we confront Brielle before we have everything documented, she'll destroy the evidence. Grandma nodded slowly. What do? We gather proof. Then we show everyone the truth. Caroline called me the next morning. We need to meet. My apartment. When I arrived, I found Caroline and Grandma already sitting at the kitchen table, a laptop open between them. Your grandmother called me, Caroline explained. She told me what you found in the bank statements. I thought about what you said, Grandma added. About needing help. Caroline's been suspicious of Brielle for months. I figured she should know. Caroline turned the laptop toward me. On screen were dozens of emails, all sent from Brielle's personal account to various family members over the past 4 months. I've been documenting her lies, Caroline said. Every time she badmouths someone, every time she twists a story, every time she plays victim. Look at this one. She clicked on an email dated March 22nd sent to Uncle Frank. I'm worried about Ava. She's been acting strange lately. Angry, paranoid. I think she might need professional help. Should we stage an intervention? Another email to Aunt Leslie dated April 3rd. Ava came to Grandma's house last week and demanded money. When Grandma refused, Ava got aggressive. I'm scared for Grandma's safety. None of it was true. None of it had happened. She's been systematically destroying your reputation, Caroline said. Building a narrative that you're unstable, dangerous, untrustworthy. So when she finally made her big accusation at dinner, everyone was already primed to believe her. Felt sick. This is premeditated. Completely. Caroline pulled up another file. And here's the worst part. Last week, I overheard her on the phone with someone, I think a wedding planner. She said, and I quote, "Don't worry about the money. I'm making a family announcement next week that'll change everything." The cookout, Grandma said suddenly. She's planning something for the family cookout on Sunday. Caroline nodded. She's going to make another play. Probably try to discredit you even further. Maybe position herself as the responsible family member who deserves help with wedding costs. I looked between them. Then we need to be ready. We need to bring everything. Every document, every email, every piece of proof. We show everyone the truth before she can spin another lie. Grandma reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Together. The next 3 days were a blur of preparation. I compiled everything into a single binder, organized chronologically, color-coded, with tabs marking each major category of evidence. Bank statements, work documents, email records, the credit card application, Aunt Nora's testimony, Caroline's email archive. Thursday night, Caroline texted me a photo that made my blood run cold. It showed Brielle in her living room, papers spread across the floor, a shredder running beside her. She's destroying something, Caroline's message read. Don't know what. But she's in full panic mode. I called her immediately. Can you tell what she's shredding? Looks like bank statements. Maybe old receipts. Caroline paused. Dylan's asking her what she's doing, and she's telling him she's just cleaning out old files. But Ava, she looked terrified when I walked in. Like she'd been caught. She knows we're on to her. Or she's about to make a move and wants to cover her tracks first. Caroline's voice dropped to a whisper. She posted something in the family group chat an hour ago. Said she's excited for Sunday and can't wait to finally clear the air about recent misunderstandings. My stomach twisted. She's going to try to spin this. Turn herself into the hero and me into the villain one more time. Not if we get there first, Caroline said firmly. Stick to the plan. Bring your binder. I'll make sure Grandma speaks before Brielle can start her show. After we hung up, I stared at my binder, sitting on the kitchen table like a loaded weapon. Everything I needed to prove my innocence and expose Brielle's lies was contained in those pages. But doubt crept in around the edges. What if the family didn't believe me? What if they thought I'd fabricated everything? What if standing up for myself only made things worse? Then I remembered Grandma's face when she'd apologized to me. I remembered Dr. Patterson's anger when she discovered someone had tried to impersonate me. I remembered Aunt Nora's quiet certainty that I was telling the truth. I wasn't alone anymore. And this time I had proof. Sunday morning arrived gray and threatening rain. I dressed carefully. Nothing too formal, nothing that screamed, I'm here to cause drama. Just jeans and a simple blue sweater, the kind of outfit that said, I'm here because I belong here. The binder sat in my canvas bag, heavy with the weight of truth. I'd triple-checked every document, every tab, every piece of evidence. It was airtight, irrefutable, the kind of proof that couldn't be argued away or dismissed. I arrived at Grandma's house 20 minutes before the cookout officially started. Cars already lined the driveway. Uncle Frank's truck, Aunt Leslie's sedan, Caroline's SUV. Brielle's convertible sat closest to the house, sparkling clean in the dull sunlight. My hands shook as I walked up the front steps. Through the window, I could see people gathering in the backyard, setting up folding chairs and coolers. Brielle stood near the grill, laughing at something Dylan said, her hand resting possessively on his arm. She looked radiant in a white sundress, every inch the blushing bride-to-be. Caroline met me at the door. Ready? No. But I'm doing it anyway. She gave my shoulder a quick squeeze. Grandma's already in position. She's going to call everyone together in about 10 minutes. Stay close. I walked through the house on autopilot, my heart hammering so loud I was sure everyone could hear it. In the backyard, conversations died as people noticed me. Whispers started up immediately. Brielle turned, her smile widening into something that looked almost like triumph. Ava, she called sweetly. I'm so glad you came. I was worried you'd avoid us again. The trap was set. She'd positioned herself as the gracious cousin extending an olive branch. If I reacted with anger, I'd look unstable. If I stayed silent, I'd look guilty. I did neither. I simply smiled back and said, I wouldn't miss this for the world. Brielle's smile flickered, just for a second. Grandma stepped forward, her voice carrying across the yard. Everyone, let's gather around. I think it's time we had an honest conversation as a family. And I think Ava should speak first. The trap had just reversed. 23 people arranged themselves in a rough semicircle on Grandma's lawn. Some sat in folding chairs. Others stood with arms crossed, waiting. I could feel their skepticism like a physical presence. Brielle positioned herself front and center, Dylan beside her, her expression carefully arranged into concern. Grandma, I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I think you should sit down, dear. Grandma interrupted, her voice steel-wrapped in velvet. Let Ava speak. I walked to the picnic table and set my bag down. The metallic sound of the zipper seemed impossibly loud as I opened it. Every eye followed my movements as I lifted out the binder and placed it on the table with deliberate care. 3 weeks ago, I began, my voice steadier than I felt. I was accused of stealing from Grandma and threatening my cousin. I was told to leave this family and not come back until I could explain myself. Pause. So I'm here to explain. Not with words. With proof. I opened the binder to the first tabbed section. My employment records. Brielle told several of you that I'd lost my job at the mental health clinic. She called my workplace pretending to verify my termination. I pulled out Dr. Patterson's letter and held it up. This is from my supervisor dated 3 days ago, confirming I'm still employed and was recently commended for excellence in patient care. I've been with the clinic for 4 years without interruption. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I saw Mom lean forward in her chair. The text messages Brielle showed you, the ones where I supposedly threatened her, those didn't come from my phone. I turned to the next section. These are my actual phone records for the past 6 months. You can see every text I sent, every call I made. None of them match what Brielle showed you. Uncle Frank stood up. Then where did those messages come from? I pulled out the virtual phone number registration. From a spoofed number that looks similar to mine. This number was created using an online service in March, the same month Brielle got engaged. The registration is traceable. Brielle's face had gone pale. This is ridiculous. You could have made all this up. Could I? I turned to the tab marked IT evidence. This email was sent to my workplace, asking them to confirm I'd been fired. Came from what looked like my personal email address. But our IT specialist traced the IP address. The email came from your laptop, Brielle. I slid the printout across the table. Caroline picked it up and read it aloud, her voice cutting through the shocked silence. Brielle stood up, her chair scraping against concrete. This is a setup. She's trying to frame me because she's jealous. Jealous of what? I asked quietly. Your engagement. Your wedding. Or the fact that you've been lying to everyone for months. Explain it, Brielle. Someone called from the crowd, Aunt Leslie. Explain how your laptop sent that email if you didn't write it. Brielle's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. For the first time since I'd known her, she had nothing to say. The silence stretched thin and dangerous. Then Caroline stood up, her expression carved from stone. There's more you need to know, she said, walking to stand beside me. Brielle hasn't just been lying about Ava. She's been manipulating this entire family for months. Caroline, don't, Brielle hissed. This is between me and Ava. No, it's not. Caroline pulled out her phone. These are emails Brielle sent to various family members over the past 4 months. In them, she systematically destroyed Ava's reputation, planting seeds of doubt, twisting innocent interactions into sinister events, building a narrative that would make you all believe her when she finally made her accusation. Caroline read several emails aloud. With each one, more family members shifted uncomfortably. I watched Mom's face transform from confusion to horror as she realized how thoroughly we'd all been manipulated. Why would she do this? Uncle Frank asked. Money, Caroline said bluntly. Brielle's in serious debt. When Grandma announced the education scholarship, Brielle saw an opportunity. She needed Ava out of the picture so she could position herself as the deserving recipient. She needed wedding funds, and she didn't care who she destroyed to get them. That's a lie, Brielle snapped. You've always been jealous of me and Dylan. You've never wanted us together. Actually, that part's true, Caroline admitted. I never wanted my brother with someone like you. Someone who lies, manipulates, and uses people. She turned to Dylan. I'm sorry, but you deserve to know the truth about who you're marrying. Dylan stood frozen, his face a mask of confusion and dawning horror. Brielle, just tell them they're wrong. Tell everyone this is a misunderstanding. Brielle's eyes darted around the circle, searching for an ally. Finding none. That's when Grandma stepped forward and placed a single piece of paper on the table. A credit card statement with Grandma's name at the top. Maybe Brielle would like to explain this, Grandma said quietly. Brielle's face drained of all color. Grandma's hands shook slightly as she picked up the credit card statement, but her voice remained steady. This is a credit card opened in my name 4 months ago. I never applied for it. I never authorized it. But someone did. someone who had access to my personal information. She held up the application form, the one Aunt Nora had found. This signature isn't mine. But the initials in the corner, BC, those tell a different story. That could mean anything, Brielle said, but her voice had lost its conviction. Lots of people have those initials. The card was used at Shaw Street Market, Grandma continued. 3 separate purchases at the bridal boutique next to Dylan's apartment complex. The total charges amount to $8,200. Dylan turned to Brielle, his expression cracking. You said your parents were paying for your dress. They are, Brielle stammered. This is a mistake. Someone's trying to frame me. Probably Ava. I pulled out another document. These are Grandma's bank statements for the past 6 months. Small withdrawals, $50 to $100 at a time, totaling nearly $3,000. Including one withdrawal on February 14th, when Grandma was in the hospital for hip surgery. I looked directly at Brielle. Where were you on February 14th? She didn't answer. I'll tell you, I continued. You visited Grandma in the hospital. You posted about it on social media. Visiting my sweet grandmother, sending prayers. Very touching. Except you also had her debit card. The ATM withdrawal happened at 2:15 p.m. The timestamp on your hospital photo was 1:45. Caroline pulled up the photo on her phone and showed it to everyone. Then she pulled up the bank statement with the matching time and date. The math was simple. Fleming. This is circumstantial, Brielle said desperately. You can't prove. I can prove the credit card application, Grandma interrupted. I had it analyzed by a handwriting expert. The signature is a forgery. The initials match your handwriting samples from family birthday cards. Pause. This is identity theft, Brielle. This is fraud. Dylan's face had turned ashen. Is it true? Did you steal from your own grandmother? Brielle's composure finally shattered. I needed the money. Do you have any idea how expensive weddings are? My parents cut me off, your family won't help, and I'm drowning. She jabbed a finger toward me. Meanwhile, she gets everything handed to her. The job, the scholarship, everyone's precious attention. It's not fair. So you decided to steal it. Mom's voice cut through the shocked silence. You decided to destroy your cousin's reputation and commit fraud against an elderly woman? I was going to pay it back, Brielle said, tears streaming down her face now. Real tears, not the performed ones from 3 weeks ago. After the wedding, I was going to get a better job and pay everything back. With what money? Caroline asked coldly. You're already $30,000 in debt. Dylan showed me the collection notices. Dylan's head snapped toward Caroline, then slowly back to Brielle. What collection notices? I was handling it, Brielle whispered. By stealing from my grandmother. Dylan's voice rose. By destroying my sister's cousin. By lying to me about everything. I did it for us, Brielle pleaded. For our future. I just needed. You needed to blame someone else for your problems, I interrupted quietly. You needed a scapegoat. So you chose me. The backyard had gone completely silent except for Brielle's ragged breathing. She stood in the center of the circle, mascara running, hands shaking, looking around desperately for someone, anyone to defend her. No one moved. You don't understand, she said, her voice breaking. I've been planning this wedding for 2 years. 2 years of magazines and Pinterest boards and venue tours. I've dreamed about this since I was a little girl. I just needed help, and nobody would give it to me. So you took it, Aunt Nora said from her chair, her voice cutting. Took it from an old woman who trusted you. Took it from a cousin who never did anything to hurt you. She had everything. Brielle screamed, spinning toward me. You've always had everything. The perfect job, the perfect life, Grandma's favorite, everyone's approval. What was I supposed to do? Just watch you get more while I struggled. You were supposed to be honest, I said simply. You were supposed to ask for help instead of stealing it. You were supposed to be family. Brielle laughed bitterly. Family. This family has never cared about me. Not really. It was always Ava this and Ava that. Nobody ever asked how I was doing or if I needed anything. I asked, Dylan said quietly. Every single day, I asked if you needed help. Every time you said no. You said your parents were handling the wedding costs. You said everything was fine. His voice hardened. You lied to me, Brielle. About money, about Ava, about everything. Dylan, please. Did you steal from my grandmother? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Brielle's silence was answer enough. Dylan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. For a moment, I thought he was going to hand it to her. Some grand romantic gesture of forgiveness. Instead, he opened it, removed the engagement ring and held it out to her. Here, he said, his voice hollow. You can sell this. It should cover some of your debt. Brielle stared at the ring like she couldn't comprehend what she was seeing. What are you doing? I'm ending this. The engagement. All of it. Dylan's hand trembled as he placed the ring on the table. I can't marry someone who would do these things. Someone I don't even know. No, Brielle whispered. No, you can't. We're supposed to get married in 4 months. The deposits are paid. The invitations are ordered. Everyone knows. Everyone will understand, Caroline said firmly. Because everyone here just watched you confess to fraud and character assassination. Brielle collapsed into a chair, her face buried in her hands, shoulders shaking with sobs. For a moment, just a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I remembered the fake texts, the forged emails, the 3 weeks of isolation and shame she'd put me through. She'd made her choices. Now she had to live with them. Uncle Frank stood up, his expression grave. Virginia, what do you want to do about the credit card? This is a police matter. Grandma looked at Brielle for a long moment. I want my granddaughter to understand that actions have consequences. But I also know that prison won't fix what's broken here. He paused. Brielle will pay back every penny she stole. She'll close the credit card account and work out a payment plan with me directly. And she'll apologize, publicly and sincerely, to Ava. Brielle's head jerked up, her face blotchy and red. I'm not apologizing to her. She orchestrated this whole thing. She turned everyone against me. No, Mom said, standing up. You did that yourself. Every lie you told, every manipulation, every cruel accusation, those were your choices, Brielle. Nobody forced you to destroy Ava's reputation. You did that because you wanted something you hadn't earned. I think an apology is the least you owe Ava, Aunt Leslie added. Along with one to your grandmother. And to Dylan. Brielle sat rigid, her jaw clenched, refusing to look at anyone. If you don't apologize, Grandma said quietly, then I will press charges. Identity theft, fraud, forgery, the bank has all the evidence they need. It's your choice, Brielle. Apologize and make amends, or face legal consequences. The silence stretched so long I thought Brielle might actually choose prison over admitting she was wrong. Then finally she looked up at me. Her eyes held no remorse, only resentment and rage barely contained. I'm sorry, she said through gritted teeth. I'm sorry I sent those emails. I'm sorry I lied about you. And the rest? Grandma prompted. Brielle's hands clenched into fists. I'm sorry I opened the credit card in your name. I'm sorry I took money from your account. I'm sorry her voice broke. I'm sorry I ruined everything. It wasn't the heartfelt apology Grandma had hoped for. But it was an admission of guilt witnessed by 23 people. It would have to be enough. Dylan stood frozen, the empty ring box still in his hand. Around us, family members began to move, some heading toward me with apologies and hugs, others giving Brielle a wide berth as she sat hunched in her chair. Dylan, Brielle said, reaching for him. Please. We can fix this. I'll get help. I'll do whatever it takes. Just don't leave me. Dylan looked down at her hand on his arm, then carefully removed it. You didn't just lie to me about money, Brielle. You tried to destroy someone I care about. Someone who's been part of my family for years. You looked me in the eye every single day and pretended to be someone you're not. I am that person, she insisted. The person you fell in love with, that's the real me. This was just a mistake, a stupid, desperate mistake. A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill, Caroline said coldly. This was calculated, methodical. You planned it for months. Dylan's face had gone pale. The night you were shredding papers. You were destroying evidence, weren't you? Brielle didn't answer, which was answer enough. I need you to leave, Dylan said, his voice barely audible. Take your things from my apartment. Don't contact me. Don't. His voice cracked. Just go. Brielle stood slowly, her movements mechanical. She looked around the circle one last time, her gaze landing on each person who'd witnessed her unraveling. When her eyes met mine, I saw something that sent a chill down my spine. Not remorse but hatred. Pure, undiluted hatred. You did this to me, she whispered so quietly only I could hear. You're proud of yourself, aren't you? Destroying me in front of everyone. I met her gaze steadily. No, Brielle. You did this to yourself. She turned and walked toward the house, her white sundress catching on a lawn chair. She stumbled, caught herself, and kept walking without looking back. A moment later we heard her car engine start. Then she was gone. The silence that followed felt heavy, like the air after a thunderstorm. Uncle Frank cleared his throat. Well, that was something. The understatement broke the tension. Few people laughed nervously. Mom walked over and pulled me into a fierce hug. I'm so sorry, she whispered against my hair. I should have believed you from the start. I should have listened. It's okay, I said, even though it still hurt. It's not okay. She pulled back, her eyes red. But I'm going to spend a long time making it up to you. Starting now. Dad approached more hesitantly. Your mother's right. We failed you, Ava. We let someone else's lies matter more than our faith in you. That's on us. One by one, family members approached with apologies. Some were sincere, full of regret. Others felt performative, more about easing their own guilt than acknowledging the harm they'd caused. I accepted them all with varying degrees of grace, because holding on to anger would only hurt me in the end. Caroline stood beside me the entire time, a quiet pillar of support. When the apologies finally slowed, she squeezed my shoulder. You did good today. We did good, I corrected. I couldn't have done this without you. Dylan approached slowly, his eyes red-rimmed. I'm sorry, Ava. For everything Brielle said, everything she did. I had no idea. I know. She fooled me completely. He shook his head. I thought I knew her. Thought I loved her. But I didn't know her at all, did I? I don't think any of us did, I said gently. Not really. He nodded, swallowing hard. Thank you. For not pressing charges right away. For giving her a chance to make it right. He paused. Even though she didn't deserve your mercy. After Dylan walked away, Grandma approached with Aunt Nora beside her. Grandma took both my hands in hers. I have something to announce, she said loudly enough for everyone to hear. The conversations around us died down. I've made my decision about the education scholarship. My heart started pounding again. Ava, Grandma said, her voice strong and clear. You've proven yourself to be exactly the kind of person this family should support. You're honest, hardworking, and you fight for the truth even when it costs you. The scholarship is yours. Applause erupted around us. I felt tears sting my eyes, the good kind this time. And Brielle, Grandma continued, her voice cooling, will no longer have access to any of my financial information or accounts. She'll work with Aunt Nora to establish a repayment plan for the money she stole. Until that debt is paid in full, she's not welcome at family gatherings. It was a harsh sentence, but a fair one. Brielle had stolen not just money but trust. That would take much longer to repay. The cookout gradually resumed something almost normal. People started eating, talking, trying to process everything that had happened. I found myself standing alone by the fence, watching the sun break through the clouds for the first time that day. Caroline appeared beside me, holding 2 plates of food. You need to eat something. I'm not hungry. Eat anyway. Trust me, the adrenaline crash is coming and you'll need fuel. I accepted the plate and took a mechanical bite of potato salad. Caroline was right. I was already starting to feel shaky, the emotional weight of the confrontation settling into my bones. How do you feel? She asked. Honestly, empty. I set down the plate. I thought I'd feel victorious or relieved or something. But I just feel hollow. That's normal. You didn't want to destroy her. You wanted to clear your name. Those are 2 very different things. Do you think she'll actually pay Grandma back? Caroline was quiet for a moment. I think she'll try. Whether she succeeds is another question. But at least now everyone knows the truth. That's what you wanted, right? Yeah, I said softly. The truth was all I ever wanted. Movement near the house caught my eye. Dylan was loading boxes into his truck, probably Brielle's belongings from his apartment. He looked devastated, moving with the slow deliberation of someone in shock. He'll be okay, Caroline said, following my gaze. It'll take time, but he'll heal. And maybe next time, he'll be more careful about who he trusts. Brielle said something to me before she left, I admitted. She said I was proud of myself for destroying her. Are you? No. I'm just relieved the nightmare is over. I turned to Caroline. Does that make me a bad person? That I'm not sorry she's hurting? It makes you human. Caroline's expression softened. You're allowed to feel relieved that your tormentor is finally facing consequences. That doesn't make you cruel. It makes you someone who values truth and justice. Behind us, Grandma laughed at something Aunt Nora said. Mom and Dad stood close together, talking quietly. The family was slowly knitting itself back together, strand by careful strand. I didn't fight by tearing anyone down, I said quietly, more to myself than to Caroline. I fought by telling the truth. And the truth was enough. Caroline smiled. Yes, it was. The rest of the cookout passed in a blur of conversations, apologies, and quiet reconciliations. By the time the sun started setting, most people had gone home. I helped Grandma clean up, stacking chairs and collecting abandoned plates. You know, Grandma said as we worked, I'm proud of you. Not just for what you did today, but for how you did it. What do you mean? You could have been cruel. Could have gloated or rubbed Brielle's face in her mistakes. But you didn't. You simply presented the truth and let it speak for itself. He paused. That takes more strength than most people realize. We carried the last of the dishes inside. In the kitchen, Aunt Nora was brewing tea, and Mom was wrapping leftover food. I've been thinking, Grandma said, settling into her favorite chair. The scholarship money, it's yours to use however you need it. But I'd also like to help you in other ways. Maybe mentorship or introducing you to colleagues in your field. You don't have to do that. I know. But I want to. You've got a bright future ahead of you, Ava. And this family, your real family, the ones who matter, we want to support you properly this time. Mom joined us, handing me a cup of tea. Your father and I were talking. We'd like to take you to dinner this week. Just the 3 of us. No drama, no big family gathering. Just a chance to reconnect. Something in my chest loosened slightly. I'd like that. My phone buzzed. A text from Dr. Patterson. Heard through the grapevine that today went well. Proud of you. Also, stop by my office Monday morning. Have something to discuss. I showed the message to Grandma, who smiled knowingly. Sounds promising. Or terrifying, I said, but I was smiling too. As I gathered my things to leave, Caroline pulled me aside. I wanted to tell you before you heard it elsewhere. Dylan's talking about moving. Says he needs a fresh start somewhere Brielle hasn't touched. That's probably smart. He also wanted me to tell you he's recommending you for something. Wouldn't say what, just that he thought you'd be perfect for it. I shrugged. My brother's bad at relationships, but he's good at recognizing talent. Whatever he's planning, it's probably worth hearing out. I hugged her goodbye, grateful beyond words for her support. As I drove home that night, the binder still in my bag, I felt lighter than I had in months. The truth had set me free, not just from Brielle's lies, but from the fear that I was somehow wrong, somehow deserving of the treatment I'd received. I wasn't wrong. I wasn't crazy. I was just someone who'd been targeted by a desperate person willing to destroy others to get what she wanted. And now, finally, everyone knew it. Monday morning, I arrived at Dr. Patterson's office with equal parts curiosity and nervousness. She gestured for me to sit, then slid a folder across her desk. "I had a very interesting conversation with Dylan Thorne over the weekend," she said. "He works in healthcare administration, apparently. Called to tell me about your situation and to emphatically recommend you for a new position we're creating." My heart skipped. What kind of position? "We're launching a pilot program, community outreach and family therapy services. We need someone to head it up. Someone with clinical skills, integrity, and the ability to handle complicated family dynamics." She smiled. "According to Dylan, you're the perfect candidate." I don't know what to say. "Say you'll think about it. It's a promotion with a significant salary increase. You'd be developing the program from the ground up, which means a lot of creative freedom, but also a lot of responsibility." I looked at the folder, my hands trembling slightly. "Can I take this home? Read through everything?" "Of course. Take a few days. Talk it over with your family." I pause. "Ava, what you did this weekend, standing up for yourself with evidence and grace, that took remarkable strength. Our clients deserve someone like that leading their care." I left her office in a daze, the folder clutched to my chest. In my car, I finally let myself cry, not from sadness or relief, but from the overwhelming realization that my life was actually moving forward. The nightmare was over. The truth had been told. And somehow, impossibly, things were getting better. That evening, I called Grandma and told her about the job opportunity. "Take it," she said immediately. "You've earned this, sweetheart. All of it. What if I'm not ready? What if you're exactly the person they need?" She interrupted gently. "What if you stop doubting yourself and start believing what everyone else already knows? That you're capable, brilliant, and strong enough to handle whatever comes next?" I thought about the past 3 weeks. The accusations, the investigation, the confrontation. I'd handled all of it, one step at a time, with nothing but truth and determination. Maybe Grandma was right. Maybe I was ready. "I'll accept the position," I said. 2 weeks later, I started my new role. My relationships with Mom and Dad continued to heal through weekly dinners and honest conversations. Caroline became a genuine friend, someone I could trust completely. And Grandma kept her promise, introducing me to colleagues and supporting my career in ways that went far beyond money. As for Brielle, I heard she'd moved away, back to her parents' house in another state. She was making payments to Grandma according to the plan Aunt Nora had established. We never spoke again, and I was okay with that. Some bridges, once burned, aren't worth rebuilding. I'd learned something crucial through all of it. Truth doesn't always win immediately. Sometimes you have to fight for it, document it, prove it beyond any doubt. But when you do, when you stand firm in honesty even when everyone doubts you, the truth becomes an unshakable foundation. I didn't destroy Brielle. I didn't tear anyone down or seek revenge. I simply told the truth and let it do what truth does best, illuminate the darkness and reveal what was hidden. And in the end, that was enough. That would always be enough.